I just thought we'd, sort of a classic end of the year thing, to just have a bit of a discussion about, what 2024 might hold for us, and any predictions we might have. It's that classic thing. If you get one right, it's then a great clip. It's quite a big window to be terribly wrong.
Well, I was going to say, is your track record for bets that we've learned of? I don't know.
I was very close. I was within seconds of winning a spread bet with about 12 bets in it. Anyway,
what's happening next year?
Both elections.
We got the Donald Trump election. Is the UK having an election?
Yeah, it's got to be called before January 2025.
So, but does it happen in 2024?
Yes.
Okay.
Almost certainly, yeah. I thought it was more like November. I thought that was the latest.
Anyway, the date I'd prospectively heard was actually the 31st of October.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Yeah.
So we may end up getting a shift in both Anglosphere nations here.
I think it's 99% sure we will have a general election next year, sort of a thing. So
that's the reason they're delaying the ARC conference until 2025. They're not going to have one next year in November because they're waiting to see what the political landscape is, depending who wins in the UK and US.
Right. So I thought maybe first we could just have a think about Trump, the 2024 presidential election. Biden's locked in, right? He's definitely...
No, not technically.
Is he not?
He's not technically locked in. I mean, he's said he's running. It's assumed he's going to be the candidate, but also nobody really believes he's running the show. And everyone seems to think that the Democrats are at least lining up surrogate candidates. There's a reason.
Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, that's the reason that Newsom and DeSantis did a debate recently. DeSantis is actively running for the Republican nomination. He won't get it, obviously, but Newsom hasn't thrown his hat in the ring for. I mean, he's not like he's going to displace Kamala Harris officially because they'll upset all the black women that overwhelmingly vote for them. So the idea is that, I don't know, Joe Biden might slip on a banana peel and he might just have to step in.
I mean, short of him dying, I don't think they are going to pull him out.
Yeah.
Retirement for health reasons.
I mean, it's possible, but yeah, usually the incumbent president, I don't know if there's whether that's ever happened, whether an incumbent president has lost the nomination to get re-elected. Does that ever happen? I don't think.
It's not even lost the nomination. It would be that you don't run again.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's
that's
possible.
happened.
But yeah, they could decide there's actual health issues. Yeah. Okay. But short of that.
I mean, just look at it.
And Trump has got it. The polls show that he's got it locked down. Assuming legal challenges don't actually prevent him, he will win that nomination, right, for the Republicans.
Yes.
Right?
317 electoral college votes, if you believe the polls in each state, and then add it up.
In the actual election. Right.
But in terms of the primary, he's going to be the Republican candidate unless they somehow take him out.
But where we're sitting right now, I mean, unless he tomorrow comes out and be like, you know what, Mein Kampf, not a bad book. Like, he's going to win. And in which case...
That's so going to be a clip.
He did say something similar the other day. Did you see it?
No, I don't know.
He just says the migrants, they're coming in, they're perverting the blood of our country. And some people say, Hitler said something like that, which is, but very differently.
Did he actually say
And then he just said, and I'd never read Mein Kampf. Why did you bring it up? Yeah. Why did you have to bring that up?
I haven't seen that. But...
Oh, it's a real clip. It's him talking about the invasion of the southern border, and he's just like bringing up the fact that he's never read Mein Kampf, and I believe him.
Right.
Yeah.
John, if you can find that on Twitter, that would be
I've seen a couple of clips of Trump recently, or in the last week or two, where he's saying fairly strong words, saying he's going to dismantle various portions of their deep state or their intelligence services. And
well, you know about Schedule F, I assume.
Put limits. What was that?
The day one plan that he's drawn up to fire 50,000 federal agents.
Yeah. That was it. That was one of the things. I didn't know it's called Plan F. Is that what you said it was? Schedule F. Okay, I didn't know it was called that. But
there was an Axios article detailing all of it, where of course they were crying about how could you destroy our democracy in this way by firing a bunch of useless
Mine swamp.
You got to type in Mein Kampf, otherwise. So it's M.
Oh, this is going to be so clipped out of context.
Well, he said it, so. But unless he actually comes out and endorses the book.
They come from Africa. They come from Asia. They come from South America. But not just South America. They're all over the world. They dump them on the border and they pour into our country, and nobody's there to check them. And the Border Patrol is incredible, by the way. They want to do it, but they're told not to do their job. It's crazy what's going on. They're ruining our country. And it's true. They're destroying the blood of our country. That's what they're doing. They're destroying our country. They don't like it when I said that. And I never read Mein Kampf. They said, oh, Hitler said that in a much different way. They're coming from all over the world, people all over the world. We have no idea. They could be healthy. They could be very unhealthy. They could bring in disease that's going to catch on in our country, but they do bring in crime. But they have them coming from all over the world, and they're destroying the blood of our country. They're destroying the fabric of our country.
He said it. He said it again.
Yeah.
He said it again.
That was
He's obviously right.
unwise.
No, I think this is classic Trump, where he'll say some stuff that's on the line in the sense that you can see the Democrats being like, he said blood. And obviously, any normal person reading the news would actually come out of that eventually just being like, nah, Trump's our guy.
Yeah.
Because you remember back to the first election where he won, he would say some random stuff that was clearly just bait. So I don't know if he's baiting. I think he's baiting.
It's most normal people, I think, wouldn't necessarily know how incendiary just the mere mention of the word blood is. It's like the blood and soil thing.
Like your average voter doesn't give a
right? Yeah, most people wouldn't even realise the perhaps incendiary connotations.
Yeah, exactly. Most people wouldn't realise that, which is why you shouldn't immediately reference Mein Kampf and Adolf Hitler in the same sentence.
Yeah, that was
You're
weird.
then making the comparison. That was
like,
dumb.
By the way, I've never read Mein Kampf.
Yeah, that's
all right.
That's like someone farting, and then the first person going, "Wasn't me." And
Yeah.
everyone turns around and looks at you.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway,
But the irony is, still going to win the nomination after all that.
But that's my point. Like, unless he buggers that up, like he in a free and fair election has won. It must be over unless something major happens. So in which case, the real question is: so are they going to rig it? Because they literally, I think we can actually say this because in Colorado they tried to get him kicked off the ballot, and that is rigging the election, not having the ability to vote for the opposition candidate. So, what do you guys think?
I saw Tucker Carlson say recently, maybe it was an older, slightly older clip, but I saw it recently, where someone said, you're quite fearless as a reporter. There doesn't seem to be many things you're not prepared to talk about, like even 9/11 or the JFK murder or something. Is there anything you're sort of afraid to talk about? And he said, yeah, the 2020 election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's technically got a gag order on him because of the Fox lawsuit, hasn't he?
Oh, has he?
Yeah, well, that's
didn't know that.
the Dominion case has probably put certain.
Oh, right, the Dominion.
Yeah.
thing. He was talking, I think, in general terms. Just in general terms, he doesn't want to.
But then
it's like a hot subject for him.
Sure, but if the lawsuit itself was that what Fox broadcasted caused reputational damage to Dominion and Tucker was implicated in that, he doesn't want to talk about the topic in case they just go after him with lawfare again.
No, fair enough. Yeah,
it's not that he doesn't have the balls to do so. I mean, he said some pretty controversial stuff, and fair play to him. But I think the interesting thing that will happen is that I don't think they can pull off the same scale of weighing the votes in their favor as they did with COVID, because not everywhere is doing mail-in ballots this time around. I think some of the swing states are, because it's technically in the Pennsylvania Constitution now, and I don't think they're going to get away with challenges with that. But there are Republican states which are aware to this. You've got folks like Scott Pressler and that are going to do registrations and do ballot harvesting where legal for the Republicans. And I think most of the effery is going to be in the deep blue Democrat states where Trump's not going to be able to swing them anyway. It's not like you're going to get a second Reagan election where he wins 49 out of 50.
And where it's always been the case, certain places in Illinois or whatever.
Yeah. The ones you got to look out for are the slowly turning purple ones, like Texas.
Right, yeah.
And Arizona, because Arizona always seems to have problems. There's Maricopa County machines that just magically switch off midway through the day. Oh, I guess you can't vote, guys. That's okay.
Yeah. I'd like to see the whole Dominion case. It's still not finished then? It's still ongoing?
That's settled. I mean, the thing with the Dominion one is the Trump team hired such non-credible lawyers that made outlandish claims that it just made the whole thing look stupid. I mean, if you want to say the Democrats fudged the numbers in not doing signature verification for the ballots, in that some people were on the voter registry after they died, so we don't know if they voted or not, if someone voted in their name or not. If you want to say that obviously mail-in ballots are going to be liable to fraud because Jimmy Carter's foundation found out about this years ago, Elizabeth Warren and who was the other one from Minnesota, the woman that ran in 2020, the senator. No. Amy Klobuchar. They did a documentary on Amazon Prime saying that mail-in voting and proprietary code digital counting machines are liable to fraud. I mean, we had narratives for years that George Bush stole the 2004 election, that Donald Trump stole the 2016 election, and suddenly 2020 is the most safe and secure, squeaky clean election ever.
Mm.
Really? Okay. Like,
That's what makes it suspicious forever.
Yeah.
It's like, if everyone was whining about how rigged this was, but no one in power cares because they think that's ridiculous. Like, it's probably ridiculous. There's no real threat. But even mentioning that something went wrong or suggesting something went wrong gets you in jail or removed from your job or whatever else, getting kicked off YouTube, etc. I mean, of course, people are going to be suspicious. But I mean, last time around, what was it? It was 40-something% of all votes in the election were mail-in, which was unheard of. Like, the highest it had been before was 20. So massive jump. So I'd love to see what it comes out this time.
well, unless you implement martial law and stop people from going to the polls for some confected emergency, you're not going to get the same share. And also, the Electoral College is more on Trump's side this time because of the population bleed that's happened from California into red states. I think it's deducted a seat from California, redistributed it to one of the Republican strongholds. So,
All right. Well, we'll see. I do think that sort of obviously the 2024 presidential election there'll be all sorts of fireworks, kind of, whatever happens.
literally
It's
leading
gonna
up to
be
it,
interesting.
there'll be riots and after. Like, no one's going to accept it, even if it is the most safe and secure thing in the world. The time for both sides accepting the results of an election in America was over long ago. I think 2012 was probably the last one.
From a British point of view, or from anyone that's not in the US, the whole world will be watching it, and it's like a show, isn't it? You just sit back. You obviously have no input into it whatsoever. The whole rest of the world just has to sit back and watch it play out, whatever's going to happen.
We're going to have to do a drinking live stream of it.
I have stayed up for presidential elections and UK general elections since I was about 18. So I always do it. I don't think I've missed one. I always do it. So yeah, maybe we could get Carl one of the producer boys to set everything up, and we could do a
We'll just have to
all night.
Yeah, we'll just have to rotate the cast out. Yeah.
Yeah, we could maybe do that. I'd be up for that anyway. Yeah.
Hi folks, we've rolled out a new feature on the website, which is the ability to pay for an individual piece of content. So usually it's £5 a month every month to subscribe to all of the content on the website. But I appreciate there are going to be people who simply don't want to do that. They would be interested instead in purchasing a single piece of content for a lower amount, and they've got a particular niche that they're interested in watching. And so they don't want every single piece of content. They just want this one thing. So we've introduced this function where you can just simply purchase the one thing for £1.89, which I think is about $2.30 at the current exchange rates. And then that's just yours forever. So there's no sort of commitment there. There's no rolling subscription. It's just that one thing. So that's an option now that's on the website. It's completely live. It's completely available. And please go and enjoy it. And we'll see you all very soon.
Also, moving on then, maybe talk about our possible general election briefly. Looks like all the polls suggest Labour's going to win that, unfortunately.
The Tory party know Labour's going to win it. I mean, having spoken to them, they know. The tone at each successive conference is fascinating. So the one in 2021 was the first one after lockdown. It was jubilant. Boris was very arrogant, and it left me feeling quite bitter because I was like, you just locked us in our home for nearly 2 years, and now you're celebrating these wins, really? Then the Truss one was the party trying to say we've got back on our feet, we're going to win the next election, and none of the membership believed it. And then this year it was the membership and the MPs know they're going to lose. So it really was like pissing up and fiddling as Rome burns.
It was the one. Was it the one that Theresa May called, where Corbyn got a fair few seats?
2017.
Yeah.
Labour increased the vote share.
And then the one after that, that's when Boris gets in, right? That's when Corbyn, everything collapsed for Corbyn.
Utterly obliterated.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we'll just have to see what the sort of turnout is, whether people's anger translates into Labour votes or just staying home or any sort of protest vote, hopefully.
I think it's going to be stay home.
Vote Reform UK.
It's so Goodwin's numbers on this look about 6 out of 10 people that voted Boris, particularly the first-time Conservative voters, are not voting at all because they feel the Conservative Party betrayed them, and Labour are the same. The problem is that's not necessarily translating into any votes. If you look at, and this is pertinent to reform, there was a Bexley by-election about 2 years ago in a Tory safe seat because James Brokenshire died, and the Tories put up a candidate.
I met him.
He was nice enough. He was an anti-Brexiteer though, so he was wet.
He used to be my MP in Hornchurch. Was it Hornchurch?
All right.
Anyway, sorry, go on.
No, it's all right. Richard Tice ran in Bexley. that's where his local constituency is. And his vote share increased. I think he got about 5 or 6% of the total overall vote. Labour's vote share increased, but their overall votes didn't really increase. It was just a proportion of the vote, because the Tory share in the Tory safe seat just collapsed because barely anyone showed up.
Yeah.
So apathy is going to claim more Tory seats than vengeance.
Yeah. No, you're probably right. If I had to put money on that, I probably would.
It depends on Nigel Farage. Like, literally, the man can still command so much swinging of the polls in his own actions. So, I mean, if he wants to go out and actually do a fantastic job, potential's there for him. I don't know what he'd end up doing with that. Like, how many seats you end up with exactly. Because, of course, being an England-only party, you're only really going there. And you've got to become the biggest in that constituency. And to be honest, I mean, I don't know why he doesn't just do himself. Like, go back to that constituency he's running 9 times above the
Self-Thanet?
Yeah, just take it. Just finally take it. Like, he believes that it was stolen from him last time, and a lot of people believe that. Okay, just go back, take it, take the victory. Because there's no way the people there are going to be like, you know what? One of the old parties. Like, everyone in this country with any kind of sympathies for UKIP or Brexit or anything else, they all seem to believe in there's some kind of redemption arc for Nigel Farage. Like, he deserves something for what he's done. And if we're not going to get him in the House of Lords, I mean, at least become an MP for 4 years.
Problem is, though, I think he's going to go and one of the old parties, specifically. Like,
but he'd be a fool to do so.
Really?
Because what a waste of a story. Like, Master Brexit, the Brexit man, who could finally destroy politics as it was and reforge it into something new and interesting, just becomes part of the apparatus.
I mean, he is honorary president of Reform. It would be quite a U-turn to just suddenly run for the Tories, but who knows?
I think let's be fair. It's not impossible that he's foreseeing after the next election the total desolation of the Conservative Party, which will happen. That if they're bereft of candidates to select and their current candidate selection process didn't generate an election win, that he could say, let's just fold all of the successful Reform candidates into the Tories. I wouldn't be shocked if he did that. But the reason he's obviously not going to say that now, because, I mean, ahead of an election, nobody wants all the Reform donors to go, well, what's the point of Reform then? Because Reform clearly has principles. They've got a full manifesto pledge. They're the only ones saying net zero migration. Good on them. I think they need to say a lot more and be a lot more full-throated, but...
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be too rude, but I feel like that's just Tory wishful thinking, that's the way Farage would go, or that's what he's thinking. That's not what he said at the last conference. It's just like there seems to be a gaping hole for Reform to fill. And that's it. Simple as that. It's not.
He did also say, I would be surprised if I wasn't Tory leader by 2026.
When did he say that?
It was about 4 weeks ago.
I didn't see that.
You can get it up, John, if he's there. Farage did say, it was on Guido Fawkes. He reported it. He did it in an interview, actually.
Either way, like, my interest in this isn't so much of the person. It's the story and the effects of it. Because I think it was Richard Tice said that the Tories should stand down and let Reform take the seats. And obviously the immediate response was a bit of laughter, because it's like, well, you're lowering
one
the polls.
man. Yeah, that was.
But there's some truth in that, in the sense of, like, now you guys have been messing up everything, and you probably will continue to mess everything up. So if you actually wanted a story which was glorious and actually led to this country being better off, it would be one where the underdogs basically overtake the state and therefore enforce what, well, they will actually do, instead of the people who have promised it for 14 years and done nothing. Like, them having any kind of victory would just be so demoralizing. But the idea of Nigel Farage joining them or folding anything into them, I kind of feel like most of the people who would stand for Reform would turn around and be like, this is cringe, I'm leaving.
It would be an arch betrayal.
So that's why I don't think, if anyone's recommending that he does that, they don't seem to realize the level of betrayal that would be.
Yeah, I'd like to see what his actual words were, because he expressly said the opposite of that. I don't know if that's a...
He did say that, and then he also said, but currently that's not viable, and also I'm currently with Reform.
Right.
Yeah, but as I just said, he's obviously not going to say, I'm going to bail on Reform, because otherwise everyone that's throwing their weight behind Reform wouldn't go for Reform. But I'll put it this way, as a political realist, if Farage saw fertile ground to take over the Conservative Party and fold Reform in, I wouldn't be surprised if he took it.
Yeah, but then
I just flatly disagree with that view, that take. It would be an arch betrayal of all the UKIP, Brexit Party, and Reform stuff. It would. It might happen. I'm not saying it definitely won't happen.
That's what I'm saying. You're saying you flatly disagree with my take. I'm giving an observation that it could happen. I don't care either. I'm a results-based man. If Reform took over, cool. I'm not saying I want that, as in, like, that's my only goal. I'm saying I would not be shocked if this is the trajectory of travel, because he sees it as a path to power.
Well, yeah. I would be shocked, but we'll see. In the jungle, he kept saying, "I just don't know," didn't he? When asked a few times, I see him say, "Who knows? Who knows what the future holds?" But anyway, I'm not sure if he's obviously a really, really important person and voice in UK politics, but it's not the be all and end all. Like, if he's your leader, it doesn't mean you definitely win a general election. I mean,
but
anyway,
if we're backing a horse, who else is the Caesar figure? I mean, and I say this with criticism of Farage. I think he's been too tepid on plenty of things. He's criticised our friend Calvin Robinson fairly recently, and he didn't need to. So, but I am saying, who else is as prominent a personality to lead a party to victory right now?
Yeah, no, fair point. Yeah, Starmer does look like a rabbit in the headlights a lot, doesn't he? Quite literally.
He's winning by default.
Yeah. Okay, Prime Minister Starmer. Can you imagine?
It's not going to be that different. It's going to be
Right. Yeah.
No.
Right.
From the current Conservative Party. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be
Right.
awful.
Yeah.
You're just going to get a bit more gender madness than usual because there's going to be no backbenchers pushing back on it.
Make misogyny a true crime. Can you go back to the document where I had my few of my notes? That's maybe a few last little things we could have a quick talk on where you think maybe the Ukraine and Gaza wars are going. I think Russia's just going to simply they've already won, essentially, I think. I think they're just going to, Ukraine going to sort of formally lose that.
Well, the appetite to continue funding it is just...
What does that mean?
Well, that the Ukraine army stops trying to fight the Russian army, I suppose.
And just all of the Ukrainian land becomes...
No, all the Donbass, everything to the east of that.
So like a ceasefire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ukraine stop pretending they might win one day.
It's not even that. I just think it'll get to the point where it's just untenable to fund it. So,
yeah.
Then by default, Ukraine, they can't take back whatever territories they've already ceded.
I saw today or yesterday that Ukraine was saying, Zelensky was saying he might try and conscript 500,000 more men. Well, you're sort of getting to the bottom of the barrel of your manpower at that point. If he does another few offensives with them and they fail, there's literally not that many fighting men left. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Or the Gaza war, I guess that will... I wonder if...
Can I make a prediction on
Yeah.
the Ukraine one?
Yeah.
I think it's going to go on for another 10 years.
You reckon?
I think it will be unbelievably boring.
Just a low burn.
Be something in the background.
Right.
Whereas the Gaza one, I mean, that's already kind of over. I mean, they've lost. They've lost the land. They've lost their tunnels. They're all getting killed.
Right.
I don't know what the Israelis want to do with the West Bank. Sorry, not with the West Bank, with the Gaza Strip, but who really cares? Like, they're going to do what they want.
Expand into it, redevelop it. There have been suggestions they even want to make it a sort of parallel shipping lane from the Suez Canal so that they have more influence over trade in the region.
What does that mean? Because like they used to own the damn thing, tried to do that before, and ended up having to leave because of all the terrorism. It's just like, is this really a population you can integrate?
Yeah, but they don't want to integrate them. That's putting it...
So where do you put them? Because killing them all is not what being successful at. For all the calls of genocide, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not calling it genocide, but either. I mean, so there has been recent suggestions by the Israeli finance minister and a couple of members of the Knesset that Europe needs to take refugees from Palestine. So I think they're just betting on either bombing them or shipping them elsewhere. I'm not even making a comment on the conflict. I'm not picking a side.
Yeah, I know it's what the Israelis would like.
Yeah, no, I'm just declaring to the audience. That's
we're just trying to make predictions what we think will happen, doesn't it?
Yeah. But they obviously, I think it seems to be a fair observation that Israel would rather they didn't have the Gaza Strip and Palestine populated by people that support Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. So if they can remove those people and turn it into a wider stretch of land for Israel, that's of course a strategic goal on their part. Condemnation of that side.
It does look like a lot of Gaza City has been reduced to rubble, like a lot of it, like a massive percentage of it. So maybe they just will move the majority of Gazans either into the West Bank or Egypt or anywhere else in the world, and
then just occupy what's left
and keep the Gaza Strip, the depopulated Gaza Strip, occupied in perpetuity. I don't know, maybe something like that.
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking more it will become kind of like they won't be able to get rid of the population they want to get rid of. It'll become more of like a police state zone that you can go on tourist holidays or something. Like I can imagine the Israeli government being like, yes, no, we need to make this look normal. To start advertising, come to Tel Aviv and Israel. And
so like their version of Dubai.
Yeah, but it's like, look how wonderful we're treating people and how we're building the place up. Like, I can see the first year of occupation being that. And I'll go and have a look. Why not?
And there's constant soldiers and tanks on the streets of Gaza.
Yeah, checkpoints.
To keep it like under like strict military occupation, every single road of it at all times.
I'm going with that.
Again, though, and again, I'm not making a moral judgment on either side. You can see, given the cultural, ethnic, and religious conflicts in the region, how the Israelis would think that would be necessary. Like, were they to take over that portion because they've bombed and military incursioned people out of the area, if they wanted to resettle it, they basically have to turn it into a police state because their occupation would be constantly under threat of Islamist retaliation as well. So there's never going to be peace in the region. But that's actually the prediction. This will never stop, no matter how large scale it continues to go on for. There will always be conflict around there.
You're right. Both peoples claim a divine ownership of the same bit of land. So it's a very difficult thing to ever resolve. What about a couple of other things then before we round up? One of the things when I was Googling around, looking at sort of predictions, because all sorts of websites and news outlets and all sorts of people, podcasters do what's coming in the following year. A lot of it seemed to revolve around AI. Everyone seemed to have a take on AI, or 2024 looks like it's probably going to be a big year for AI. And now I'm no AI expert, but a lot of people were saying stuff like AI is going to explode and it's going to be just everything starts getting dominated by AI next year.
You're going to get
in the near future.
You're going to get, I think, a few deepfake scandals ahead of the American 2024
deepfake stuffs, yeah. That is getting scarily good.
You're going to get a bunch of creepy AI influencer and porn stories. That's absolutely going to happen. Like, as in, you're going to get. So the BBC did a documentary, I think it was last year now, of there's a whole enterprise of people like putting the faces of people they know on explicit materials using deepfakes.
All right.
And so that'll be there'll be legislation that comes around that. Then people are going to end up debating because there's and then that will drive the technology that gives us like self-created movies and totally novel experiences. And so AI will just make exponential jumps, and there'll be political implications for it.
Yeah, it does seem worrying. Two things I've seen this year or late this year, which seemed very worrying to me. One was a deep fake of a fake military thing. I can't remember if it was supposed to be in Ukraine or Gaza, but it was just a deep fake. It was supposed to look like a road crossing that had been blown up or something. And the whole thing was AI generated. And it looked just perfectly real. That, for obvious reasons, is worrying. One's got the power to generate that sort of thing. Second thing I saw were drones, super fast drones. They like whiz around the sky, super fast. And only small ones like this big, but you only need like a small bit of small charge, like a little bit of plastic explosives the size of a 50p or something, and it's a suicide drone.
It's a swarm attack.
It just flies into you and blows you up. But it's so fast that it'd be very, very, very difficult, if not impossible, to sort of shoot it out of the sky with a rifle or something. If it was coming at you, you can't really get away from it on a quad bike or a motorbike or something. It's so fast. That seems extremely worrying to me, that the future of all war or even police enforcement is just like a drone conflict.
The proper dreadnought effect.
Super fast.
Like, whoever's got the most drones now just wins.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we need to figure out anti-drone technology and build more drones.
Yeah, there needs to be an arms race with anti-drone technology. Right. Yeah. We need more anti-drone weapons.
Well, essentially, to prevent terror attacks, you're going to have to start putting like micro iron domes on the top of every building in London. That's a great place to live in. Like, you thought the concrete bollards to stop trucks of peace weren't bad enough.
Can you ban super fast suicide drones?
Not if they're coming in from Iran or...
No, right. I'm joking.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like banning dum-dum bullets or banning a flamethrower or banning increasingly large battleships or something. You can't really do it, right? You can't, once the genie's out of the bottle...
You've built the dreadnought.
Yeah.
You can't unbuild it and hope that no one builds one.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, the genie's out of the bottle sort of thing. Yeah. Okay, so AI and sort of drone technology seem to be a bit of a worry in the near future.
If you enjoyed that segment from Podcast of the Lotus Eaters, why don't you check out what we got on our website, such as this Lads Hour, where Count Dankula comes in and better not spoil it. In fact, can't really talk about it because it's not safe for work. But anyway, sign up on Podcast of the Lotus Eaters at lotuseaters.com.